All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Over the second half of this NBA season, we have seen a lot of shockers as far as personnel decisions that have been made by teams. And another huge shocker today, it just really just came out of left field where the Denver Nuggets decided to part ways with longtime head coach Michael Malone. Now, in nearly 10 years as the head coach of the Nuggets, no head coach in the franchise's history has won more games than Michael Malone. He just oversaw the most successful run for a franchise since their ABA days. And of course, the highlight of this came just a little bit less than 2 years ago when Denver won their first NBA championship. You look at it right now at the time of this firing, so close to the end of the regular season, okay? The Nuggets are 47 and 32. They're fourth in the Western Conference, a very contentious Western Conference. And you've got the start of the NBA playoffs right around the corner. Make it make sense, folks. That's all I can say because it's one of those for me. I could see if the Nuggets were 32 and 47 and they were underachieving. Okay, fine. You can go ahead and make this move. You're 47 and 32. And I got up today before all of this hoopla came out about Malone being let go, and I'm looking at the standings and I'm saying, okay, the Nuggets have lost their last four, but they're right there. Maybe they slide back up to that third spot. I know that they could slide down easily to the play-in as well, depending on how things break. You know, over the final stretch here in the regular season. But nonetheless, I figured Denver would get their act together. I know Jamal Murray's not there. Nikola Jokic has been carrying the team nonetheless. But this one to me just makes no sense. You're hearing stories now, okay, that there was plenty of tension between Malone and Nuggets GM Calvin Booth, who also received his walking papers today. And of course, my thing is this: when you're winning, I know it masks some things, and I know that the team owner for Denver, Josh Kroenke, he came out and made a statement about that today. But so close to the end of the regular season, this is where a team owner needs to step up. And regardless of the tension, you've got to say, hey, you guys got to try to find a way to figure this out. And if you knew coming into this season that it was such an issue with Calvin Booth and with Michael Malone, you've got to decide then somebody's got to go. Now you make this decision so close to the end of the regular season. And, you know, I believe I'm an optimistic person on certain things, but I don't see if you're the Nuggets, how you're going to be able to flip on a switch and make this work right now. Michael Malone's been in Denver for 10 years. Okay. It's one of those where, okay, maybe the message was starting to get sour with players. It happens. Okay. But nonetheless, you don't make this move right now if you're the Denver Nuggets. Like I said, if you're Cronky, you needed to try to find a way to make this work. And the easiest cop out was simply to go ahead and move on from your head coach. Now, Michael Malone is a guy, never been afraid to let you know how he feels. He does not hold back on his feelings. And of course, he's talked, and from day one, he's always preached defense. And you think about it when the Nuggets won that championship 2 years ago, their defensive basketball was a huge part of that. Denver has slipped this season. Denver right now, they're 25th in points per game allowed in the NBA. Just to give you a difference, they were eighth in their championship season. We're talking about the differences with Malone and Calvin Booth, and of course, Denver, smaller market team, not a real small market team, but nonetheless, they've let some key cogs go in free agency because they simply did not pay them, a la Bruce Bowen and KCP, who were integral parts of that championship team a couple of years ago. But nonetheless, you got to wonder, getting back to Malone, did his outspokenness cost him the job? Because we are in an NBA, okay, where you can't hurt the players' feelings, okay? You can't be critical of them. And in this case, it's costing championship coaches, not just one, but championship coaches their jobs, okay? Because you're looking at it right now. We're in the current NBA where winning a championship has basically become the kiss of death. You know, we hear people talking all the time. This guy got to the second round. Oh, they got to the conference finals. Oh, we got to let this guy go. Oh, we got to let this guy go. But apparently, winning a championship does not provide job security as well. Nick Nurse led the Raptors to the NBA title back in 2019. Okay, it began to crumble as soon as Kawhi Leonard spurned the Clippers in free agency to go spurned the Raptors rather in free agency to join the Clippers. And then ultimately Nick Nurse was left to be the front man for a rebuild before he was let go 2 years ago. Okay, you think about Frank Vogel with the Lakers. And this is one of those things, disagree with me with what I'm about to say. The head coaches on the LeBron championship teams never get any credit. All right. Frank Vogel was hung out on the wind a couple of years back and he was let go. Okay. That was 2 years after helping the Lakers win a championship. Then you go to Mike Budenholzer, who led the Bucks to their championship, their first championship in 50 years. And after they underachieved in the postseason a couple of years back when Giannis was hurt, he was given his walking papers. And now you've got Michael Malone. So basically, since 2019, the only head coaches that have led their team to an NBA championship that are still employed by the same team, Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors and Joe Mazzulla with the Boston Celtics. And of course, the Celtics are the incumbent as NBA champions. You know, it's one of those things right now. This has been a wild and wacky NBA season, especially just here in the second half. I mean, you think about some of the head scratching moves that have been made by teams, all from the Western Conference. All right. It started with that massacre, that midnight massacre, if you will, in Dallas when they decided to abruptly trade Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. That is clearly not working out for Dallas. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, we saw the Memphis Grizzlies with a winning record, and they were fourth in the Western Conference at the time, I do believe, when they decided to fire longtime head coach Taylor Jenkins. And now, of course, with the Nuggets today with Michael Malone. My thing is this: why would anybody want to be a head coach in the NBA in this current era? You have zero control of things. Your Most of the front offices are being run by analytical people, people who don't know the game of basketball. And then you have players who most of them don't want to be coached and they don't like it when you're critical of them and you simply tell them the truth. With what Michael Malone has meant to the Nuggets franchise, I know it's not a full day yet, but you have yet to hear a public statement from any player on the Denver Nuggets. I am sure that there is more to this story than what has been let out already. But at some point, somebody's got to take the bull by the horns. Somebody's got to be accountable. There has to be some leadership. And it is always easy to be a front man when times are good. Right now, somebody in that locker room has to step up and be the front man for this team. And so far, nobody has done it. I'll tell you like this. You think about JB Bickerstaff, and I know he has had success now since he was let go in Cleveland with the Detroit Pistons. And I know the Cavs so far have had more success in the regular season than they had when Bickerstaff was there. But you think about what Bickerstaff started and they let him go. Why would anybody want to be a head coach in the NBA? I simply do not know right now. There is zero accountability from the players. And now, if you're the Denver Nuggets, you got to turn this thing around. You've got 3 games left here in the regular season, and you're hopeful to get Jamal Murray and that ailing hamstring ready for the playoffs. But you're turning to an interim head coach in David Adelman. And of course, his Hall of Fame father accomplished a lot of great things in the NBA. But David Adelman is not his dad. Okay, we don't know what he can be. The jury is still out. And now, if you're David Adelman, you have been put, my friend, in the pressure cooker because this ain't a situation where the Nuggets fired Michael Malone at Christmas or New Year's, and you've got the bulk of the season to try to get your chemistry with these guys. You've got to do this on the fly, and brother, you got to do it in a hurry because the playoffs are right around the corner. This right here, I know the Nuggets won a championship 2 years ago. This right here smells of what bad organizations do. There's no other way to say it. Okay. It's one of those where I don't know what's going to become of this for the Nuggets, good, bad, or indifferent. But my thing is this is what scares, some players off. If Nikola Jokic's relationship was as close with Malone as some people believe. I don't know. Okay, I'm just on the outside looking in, but nonetheless, like I said before, maybe Malone's message to his team got stale, but at the end of the day, this ain't the time to do it, especially so close to the playoffs. And again, zero accountability. But nonetheless, it's so tough to maintain a championship team in the NBA for so many reasons. Players get in their feelings, so it's difficult to maintain the head coaches there. You think about player salaries, all right, and especially right now with the luxury tax and the tax apron, because it's one of those where you're basically penalizing the teams that want to go out there and have success and want to win. So it's going to be more difficult to keep those championship cores together. Denver already fell prey to it. The Boston Celtics, they could be next, especially as they've had a change of ownership. And it was a very shrewd move by Wick Grousbeck to exit stage right before that huge tax bill comes in for the Boston Celtics. It's one of those where it's just the present nature of the NBA, and it is so unfortunate. I look at the Nuggets like this. I want to see how they rebound, but you can't just flip a switch and become a better defensive team. Denver has not been a good defensive team all year long. Heck, the Nuggets haven't been a good defensive team since they won that NBA championship. Okay, that's just my opinion. You can't just flip a switch. They can play harder. Yes, I totally get it. The playoffs are around the corner. Guys always play harder then as well. But nonetheless, this one leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Okay. If you wanted to make this move after the playoffs, okay, different story. But this close to the playoffs, I simply don't get it. At some point, the truth will come out for this story for the Denver Nuggets. So right now, this is simply a bad look. Michael Malone is going to bounce on his feet because that's the one thing about the NBA. There's always job openings. Maybe Michael Malone could be the guy after Greg Popovich decides to walk away from the game in San Antonio. The Spurs have themselves a lot of young players, and maybe he could be the coach to help bring all of that together. But nonetheless, I don't think Michael Malone is going to be out of work for that long. And with his pedigree and with his reputation, he can go out there and dictate where he wants to coach. Okay, but again, like I said, who would want to coach in this current climate in the National Basketball Association? But nonetheless, a huge shocker out of the Mile High City. And let's see how the Nuggets rebound from here. But, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning in and checking in on the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. And if you like what you heard and saw tonight, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. I guarantee you it is greatly appreciated. Waste of space, as always, appreciate you chiming in and thanks for the comments. Um, as always, folks, if you're on the X, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. And there's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, and you can check it out and drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. And for all of you folks out there on Instagram, please feel free to check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I am saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.